What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with UFC 306 reactions. With UFC 306 wrapping up, what are your thoughts on the card? Now let's get into some reactions from the main event. And before we start, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to never miss MMA news videos every day. Jon Jones and Alex Pereira were spotted together before the first fight at UFC Noche, taking a picture with each other. Now let's get into the first fight. Ronaldo Rodriguez versus Ode Osbourne. Ronaldo Rodriguez defeated Ode Osbourne by unanimous decision after a controversial fight. Here's what the community had to say. Justin Gagey said, "Those boys fought their off." Rampage Jackson said, "Osbourne should use his reach and height. Rodriguez is doing a great job staying in the fight. Think they give it to Rodriguez." Dan Ige said, "Great fight. I think Lazy Boy will take the decision." Ben Askren said, 29-27? Man, I really can't see a 10-8 in round 2. The MMA Guru said, "Should be a draw or an Ode Osbourne win based on the first and the third. I can see them giving Rodriguez the win though, even though none of that at the end of the third even landed. Might see a pity robbery here to save face for their nation." Platinum Mike Perry said, "My mom, it's Nacho, they'll give it to him. Great fight." Sean Sheehan said, "Odd one. Round 1 was way more of a 10-8 than round 2. Jamal Hill said, 29-27? That wild as F." Henry Cejudo said, "Rodriguez ending the round on top was key for that victory." Alan Juban said, "Yeah, he's tired." Chris Curtis said, "How's the first round not a 10-8 if the second is? WTF?" Damon Martin said, "I was debating if round 1 should have been a 10-8 for Ode Osbourne, but 2 judges giving Rodriguez a 10-8 for round 2 is wild. I don't see that whatsoever." Daniel Zellhuber versus Esteban Ribovics. Esteban Ribovics gets the split decision victory over Daniel Zellhuber in an absolute banger. Here's what the community had to say. Zach Cummings said, "You get a bonus, you get a bonus, you get a bonus. Holy ish, everyone gets a bonus. These are delivering." The MMA Guru said, "What a fight in Zellhuber versus Ribovics. Razor close first 2 rounds despite the commentary. Then Ribovics beats the snot out of Zellhuber in that 3rd round. Ref should have taken a point from Zellhuber for his fingers aiming for eye pokes all fight long. Cheater." Sadiq Youssef said, "Wish they could get a draw." He went on to say, "That fight is up there with Aldo Mendez too." Jamal Hill said, "These fights are definitely worthy of Noche." Steffi Haynes said, "I picked Zellhuber, but I think the judges made the right decision here. That was an outstanding fight, and that 3rd round is easily round of the year." Jorge Masvidal said, "What a fight. Daniel versus Esteban." Glover Teixeira said, "Reminds me of Arturo Gatti and Mickey Ward." Derek Brunson said, "Esteban Ribovics is a certified scrapper." Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopes. Diego Lopes defeated Brian Ortega by unanimous decision. Here's what the fans had to say. Islam Makhachev said, "Number 13 becomes number 3. Congrats." Kenny Florian says, "Lopes really put on a dominant performance tonight. Ortega continues to prove he is tough as nails though." Dan Tom said, "Man, I don't want to see Ortega booked in a 5-round fight versus any semblance of a puncher after seeing this, and the trends of his past few plus fights. Hope he's good, but it's tough to see him continue to absorb so much damage while taking it less and less well." Dan Tom again said, "Lopes is obviously awesome, and I don't say this to take away from his skills and obvious role he played. Just weighing in on a trend that those who have been paying attention to are aware of." The MMA Guru said, "Ortega is tough, but oh my god, Diego Lopes might just be my new favorite fighter. He throws everything to finish and is dangerous on the inside with those combinations. There's nowhere safe from him. Forget Evloev's boring Dagestani. Give Lopes the shot." Jamal Hill said, "Mr. Dynamic, this dude is going to be one of the greats." Michael Chiesa said, "Lopes is knocking on the door of a title fight after that performance. He is must-see TV." Henry Cejudo said, "Diego putting the division on notice. He's a problem for everyone." Ben Folk said, "Well, we are all going to have to get used to the idea that Diego Lopes is actually good." Aljamain Sterling said, "Lopes is a beast. Maybe our paths will cross one day." Ben Askren said, "Ortega is tough as ish, but Lopes was just too good and he hits really hard." Megan Anderson said, "Diego freaking Lopes, what a performance. Strong start, slowed a little bit, but the investment in the calf kicks paid dividends. Very impressive. This was Diego's 6th fight in 16 months. I think a little bit of a break is needed before his next one." Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko. Valentina Shevchenko defeated Alexa Grasso by unanimous decision. Here's some reactions from the fight. Jamal Hill posted a sleeping emoji. Henry Cejudo said, "What a dominant performance by Shevchenko. She reclaimed her throne once again." Alan Juban said, "Just didn't see the necessary adjustments made tonight." Steffi Haynes said, "Val wins. Don't want a 4th. Let's get Manon in there, please." Georgi Kokishvili said, "Valentina Shevchenko is relentless. What a legend she is." Ben Askren said, "Too many decisions tonight." Jeff Molina said, "Valentina Magomedov." Kenny Florian said, "Shevchenko gets it done with a very methodical and smart game plan." Grasso seemed very unprepared from a year ago. Not surprised with the win by Valentina. But I am surprised with the lack of improvement in Grasso's grappling for this fight. The MMA guru said, Shevchenko 5-0 over Grasso. One of the most boring fights I've ever seen. Completely ruined the momentum of the card and derailed all the fun. No idea what the difference between this fight and all the other fun ones could possibly be. F women's MMA 85% of the time, man. Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili. Merab Dvalishvili dominated Sean O'Malley for 5 rounds and became the new UFC bantamweight champion. Here's what the community had to say. Aljamain Sterling said, "That's what a fair fight looks like against the best guy in the world. None of that stacking deck BS to get an advantage." Alan Juban said, "Final thoughts. Combat sports are forever changed. Sports are forever changed. We will want more of this." Henry Cejudo said, "From sugar to ish, 50-45. Ben Askren said, "Wow, that was dominant. Merab is a savage." Sean Sheehan said, "That was a major letdown of a fight. Expected so much more from the best division in the sport. Low quality stuff." Jamal Hill said, "And new." Derek Brunson said, "The fight hasn't even ended and I can hear Dana already." Dylan Dennis said, "I told everyone, but nobody wanted to listen. Merab was gonna fraud check the wannabe." Henry Cejudo went on to say, "Merab found the formula to Sean. Let me at him next." Aaron Bronstetter said, "Looks like we have a new champion. Merab lives up to the nickname The Machine and puts a pace on Sean O'Malley." Rampage Jackson said, "Mojob worked hard. Can't be mad at him. Respect." Derek Brunson went on to say, "Yeah, Rosas Jr. might be getting 50 G's after all tonight." Georgi Kyakishvili said, "Now what? Now what? Say now what?" Movzar Ivloyev said, "Great game plan from Merab Dvalishvili, new champ." Shaheen Al-Shadi said, "It took the longest win streak in UFC bantamweight history, but Merab Dvalishvili is finally your UFC bantamweight champion. Suffocating performance from the cardio king." Johnny Walker said, "I told you guys on my YouTube channel, for your bets, Merab would win." The MMA guru said, "Sucks for O'Malley. Merab takes the belt." O'Malley had some moments, even had Merab scarpering-ish scared on the feet for the whole 5th round, but Merab's takedowns diving for a single leg at range to kneeing him in the thigh were just too much. Congrats. Ben Askren went on to say, "How the hell did Sean get 2 rounds on 2 judges' scorecards? What does Verdict MMA say?" Henry Cejudo went on to say, "What the hell was that scorecard? They must be some Dems." A huge altercation broke out at UFC 306, with one fan being knocked out. There's a video of it, but due to YouTube, we can't show the clip. Raul Rosas revealed he nearly pulled out of his fight at UFC 306 due to injury. Here's what he had to say.
To be honest, I'm thankful that I was able to make it to the fight. I was so close to pulling out a few weeks out because, you know, my legs were injured. I had a sprained ankle, I had a sprained wrist, and then after I got therapy and finally like 2 weeks out, I was good. I did a simulation sparring and I hit my hand. I hurt it. So right now I was a little nervous because when I was wrapping my hands in the back, I thought I was good, but when Tate touched my hand, I was like, you know, but I was like, hey, I can't pull out now, so I had to embrace it and be ready for war.
Top comments. This is why Dana was saying that everyone was stupid by not putting John Jones as #1 pound for pound because of his brain spots. This explains why Dana White thinks John Jones is the #1 pound for pound. An Irish goodbye is where you slip out without being noticed during an event. This isn't what O'Malley did. Bilal talking about Merab's social media is ridiculous.